Welcome to Washington East to West Sports. This is episode 92. I am Matt Beatty, joined alongside, as usual, by Sean Beatty and Kevin Ardall. If you want to get involved in the show, go ahead and tweet us. I'm at Beatty_Matt. Sean is at Sean_Beatty. Kev is at C2Believe, SEA, to Believe on Twitter. Like us on YouTube. Dislike us. Tell us what you think in the comments below. Gentlemen, I'm going to start off with some high school football. I don't know if you saw this play from Saturday's Washington State Championship games.
I
But
did.
I was lucky enough to cover Yelm during the COVID season, and I saw this kid who was about to make this play, Kyler Ronquillo, as a freshman. This was the play he made. I don't know if you've seen this, Kevin, to win the state title. So the throw goes to an Eastside Catholic player, but Kyler just grabs it out of his hands and runs it in for a touchdown.
There's a
better angle.
I saw. He literally just takes it from him. Like, he just takes it out of his hands.
Yeah. And, kudos to Yelm. They were right on the doorstep last year in the semifinals, couldn't quite get it done. But this year, that play, just ripping the ball out of the defender's hands and running in for a touchdown. What a play. What a play. So congratulations to Yelm on their state title this past Saturday. Kevin, what do you think of this play by Kyler Ronquillo?
Not bad, too. And, as he runs into him, the player is kind of going down. So to be able to pull that out and maintain contact and get into full sprint is pretty dang good for high school. Where the quarterback was throwing to, that is a damn good question.
Yeah,
way overthrown, but
who was the quarterback for the Rams last week?
It's Walford.
It was a very Walford throw.
Yeah.
Now, I did see some people comparing this to Bobby Wagner, and Bobby Wagner's was different, and we'll get to that.
I would compare it to the Walford throw. That's what I would compare it to.
Let us start with the Seattle Kraken, and the Seattle Kraken are playing pretty well. So we were last on right before Thanksgiving, so I'm just going to run down the games, and we'll get a live report from Sean here in just a second. But they won against the Sharks 8-5. We're going to get a live report here in just a second. Then they beat Vegas 4-2, Anaheim 5-4, 9-8 in overtime against Los Angeles, 3-2 in overtime against Washington, and then they just lost to end their 7-game win streak 5-1 against Florida on Saturday. So let's start with a live report. Sean, you attended your first Kraken game against your beloved San Jose Sharks, and I'm happy to say you saw a loss for your Sharks, but what did you think of the game?
Well, that's what I think we all wanted, so we got it. I think I gave you a little rundown over Thanksgiving, but I will say it was offensively. It's hard because the Sharks suck at everything. So giving the Kraken a lot of credit is the Sharks are just really bad. So I'll say this: when the Sharks gave the Kraken an opportunity to score, the Kraken didn't miss. I don't know how much it didn't look like a ton were created by the Kraken. Mostly were just the Sharks' mistakes. But I will say, I don't think this team is analytically driven as much as I would like. Like I talked to Matthew, you have Matty Beniers probably going to win the Calder, or is the front runner for the Calder at least, the rookie of the year in the NHL. And smaller guy, but lots of space, really quick, young. And there was a time where they had a full 4-on-4 for 2 minutes, and he didn't get 1 second ice time out there. And I'm like, that is the guy you want on a 4-on-4 with more space. You want the young, agile guy who's moving, and like your Crosby or your, somebody out with the stick, the puck on their stick is electric and can do things. And I was like, why didn't you put him out there? That is the time he needs to be out there. It was just mistakes like that should be pretty obvious. But they looked pretty well. What I will say, and this goes forward for everything, is you're getting your Martin Jones and Grubauer. You are getting. It's I'll say this again. It's the same goes for the Seahawks later. Some people say it's not how you win. It's if you win. It is to a certain extent how you win. We know run differential, and there'll be everything. The Kraken cannot keep giving up over 4 goals a game. And the problem's going to be, I don't know. It was great when they were on that crazy hot run because Martin Jones was the 3rd star of the week or even the month, and he was like crazy hot. And then my game that I got there saw vintage Martin Jones, just everything was just flying past him. Wasn't even like he was standing there. And then they proceed to, they gave it 2, then 4, 8, 2 in overtime, but then they gave it 5. And I'm just like you can't, I think the end is near for this team coming up, especially with this run of like Washington, Florida, Tampa, Carolina. You're gonna run into some teams here, like again, Florida again, which they got blown up, their doors blown off. I think they're good enough to compete in a weaker Western Conference and specifically a weaker Pacific Division. But when we're talking, they play like the kind of the blue bloods, the good teams in this league. I don't think they're there yet, and I think a lot of it comes down to, which is weird, defense and goaltending was the biggest issue last year. They had, but defense was pretty solid. They just had no goaltending. But I think the defense has also loosened up a little bit with goaltending not helping him out. I just think it's a bad combo right now and needs to be fixed. I don't think the goaltender issue can be fixed right now because it's like the NFL and quarterback. Like, 24 teams want that goaltender, but unless they get something more out of Grubauer and Martin Jones, I think they'll fully make the playoffs. I don't think there's any worry for that, but how far they go might be a problem.
Yeah, I've you've got some concern with the Kraken. I'm pretty happy with how they're playing right now. I understand your concerns.
They're playing well, but you know what I mean? Like, though, they can't keep giving up 5 goals a game. Is basically my point. Like, it's just like, and I see that continuing, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair, but they are scoring a lot of goals too, which helps them out. I mean, the game I watched where you were at against San Jose, I mean, if the defense isn't working, then score more goals. And then that was more.
They don't always play this. They don't always play the Sharks though. That's the problem.
Well, then there was the other game that I also was able to watch was the LA Kings on November 29th, and that game was back and forth. Good hockey, good offensive hockey, I guess.
And then the Kings are great either.
And then at the end of the second period is 8-6. I'm like, oh man, I need to turn on the rest of this game. So watch the rest of the game, and it was back and forth, tied it at 8. Kraken won in overtime, but overall, I think this team is performing pretty well and definitely above expectations at this point. You've gotten contributions from Burakovsky, Eberle, Beniers has come on very strong this year in his rookie year. We've talked about
still hasn't shown up yet, but he'll be there.
I don't think has he played?
No, but I like even last year, like it's just like he wasn't.
Well, Donskoy was an anomaly because he had like 20 assists and no goals, so that's unlikely to happen again. But Vince Dunn, leading scorer defenseman, so is Justin Schultz, the signee from Washington. You've got Jaron McCann, who was a leading scorer last year. He's got 16 points. Schwartz, Sprong, Gord, Bjorkstrand, Wenberg, Tanev, all guys over 10 points, which was not the case last year. So you're getting a lot of contributions from deeper in the lineup. Even impressive, former Tri-City American Morgan Geekie, shout out there, 4 goals, 5 assists, which is a pretty solid pace compared to what he has been on throughout his career in the NHL. So he is hurt a little bit right now. So they called up Shane Wright once again, which they sent down to Coachella Valley. So he was dominating in Coachella Valley. So hopefully he can come back up and find that scoring edge that he had in junior hockey as well as in Coachella Valley.
In his time in the NHL, he was getting kind of shown the ropes a little bit.
He's 4 games in, fresh, so give him a little time to acclimate. Matty Beniers last year probably gave some people unreasonable expectations about what a rookie can do because Matty Beniers has been scoring like crazy ever since he got to the NHL. Beniers has much better size than Shane Wright, so I think when Shane Wright figures out the NHL game and can kind of throw his body around a little bit more, I think he'll be just fine. So overall, the Kraken look great, second in the Western Conference behind the Vegas Golden Knights at 39 points. Kraken are sitting there at 33. Pacific division. Kings are at 30, and then Edmonton's at 28 right now. So, I mean, in December, pretty good spot to be in. I believe the stat was 75% of the teams that are in the playoff picture at Thanksgiving make it. So sitting good right now for the Seattle Kraken as opposed to what their expectation might have been going in. Certainly over that at this point. Kevin, have you been able to watch any Kraken games?
Yeah, sadly, no, unfortunately, with my work schedule, but I have been keeping up with the box scores, looking at everything. Good to see Beniers going ape shit, and just mostly contribute, as you were mentioning, contributing factors from multiple people, not just like two guys just putting up the rest of the team on their back and just doing a thing type of deal. Good to see. I saw Shane Wright. I was going to mention if it wasn't Shane Wright recalled. So hopefully he gets a little bit more chances to shine, and hopefully, with the team playing as well, hopefully it's not on him, of course. But other than that, as we all kind of predicted going into the season, this is way better than what we expected. I saw a stat that I posted on Twitter or retweeted that we're having 95% chance to make the playoffs at the moment. So
Yeah, that was a little interesting since it had Vegas, who has been better than them, as lower odds, and I don't know. I didn't get that. I mean, I think it's probably rest of strength of schedule. Yeah, that's probably what it is. But I was just like, what? But yeah. I would say, still looking at it, if you're gonna like hold me to the fire, I still say Calgary and Edmonton are probably better. So I would watch for those two to leapfrog. I still think that they Kraken have firmly planted that they are better than the Kings, though. Vancouver's taken a step back, so it's not that. So it's basically like, I feel like worst case scenario, they will fight for a wild card spot in this. And I'm pretty confident. I mean, the only other team I'm worried about knocking them out is if the worst happens is Nashville, and I'm not worried about Nashville. I don't see Nashville as being that team yet. So I agree, Matthew. I think with the 75%, that's kind of like a makeshift faux like cutoff, because it's one of those things where you can't win it in the first quarter, but you like in the draft, you can't lose your draft in the first two, or you can't lose the season in the draft, in the fantasy draft.
Yeah,
win it, but you can lose it, and they haven't lost it, so they're setting them up pretty well for the long term. I also got to call you out, Kevin, Ducks fan. You have the reigning rookie of the year in Zegras.
Mm-hmm.
Can you win an effing game so the Sharks can get Connor Bedard? What are you doing? You have a better team than this. You're dead last in the NHL. The only team that's really in the way of the Sharks getting this is the Ducks. I'm like, you guys are decent, have a young core, and are gonna steal Connor Bedard from the Sharks, like right now, is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Can you stop? I'm asking you to stop.
No.
A formal cut it out.
No.
The only team giving up more goals in the NHL than the Sharks, the Ducks. Like,
except for Bedard. But
gosh, Zegras and Bedard on the same team. I will hate the hatred for the Ducks is already immense. Kraken fan, just wait until you get a rival. The rivalries are developed in the playoffs. You will learn hate. Like, they are so much different than any other playoffs, like football, baseball, because these are long series, and there's aggressive, and they're cheap, and they're chippy.
Mm-hmm.
So hate develops in the playoffs very quickly. The Vegas has been in this league for a very short time, and Sharks and Vegas fans hate each other just from like 3 playoff series. That's where you learn to hate. So, yeah, Vegas.
Well, I think Vegas hates you a little more because of the Pavelski down 3 goals, and then the series win. I think that's probably why they hate you.
Well,
but
Vegas also did or give it to us pretty good one year. So there's a back and forth quite a bit. So because Vegas has always kind of played a certain way, and the 2 players on Ryan Reeves and Kane, who both are no longer on either team, hate each other. So they were kind of like going at each other. So it's like, Kraken fans, playoff hockey is unique, and it is the best sport to watch, because like baseball, it is really a crapshoot, honestly. Like other sports, it's, if your goalie gets hot, then it doesn't matter. So it is just like insane to watch playoff hockey. So that's where you're going to start hating people. Like I hate the Ducks, the Kings, and Vegas. So, and St. Louis. So there you go.
All right. Well, next few games, the Kraken, they are at home against Montreal on Tuesday, but then they've got a 4-game road trip. So like Sean said, at Washington, at Florida, at Tampa Bay, and at Carolina. So we'll see what this Kraken team is made of going down to the Southeast and playing some pretty good teams.
Points.
So, I mean, they already beat Washington 3-2 in overtime. So, I mean, they'll They can
Hey,
do it. It's just a matter of we'll see how they
I'm
do.
telling this, it's the NHL, Matthew, and I tell you with 1 game sample sizes, the Pittsburgh Pirates won 50 games. The Sharks have won like 10 games. Like the shitty teams win games. It's just like can't just like get a win and maybe like a loser point of playoff OT. And I honestly consider that a win of a road trip. So a 4-game stretch. So
I mean, if they go 2-2, I think that's probably a pretty successful.
I'll take
road trip.
1, 2, and 1 to get 3 points. 4 tough teams on the road. Like honestly, because you just don't be losing a bunch of games without getting points because you already have the playoff spot. Just don't go massive games without getting points, and you'll be. That's all you need to do at this point.
And avoid the injury bug, which is hard to do. All
Get
right.
better goaltending.
Well, let us know what you thought of the Kraken so far. Go into this. I'm at Bannerscore Matt. Sean's Scoretti. Kev is at SEA2Believe. That's C2Believe. Like our videos on YouTube. Tell us what you think in the comments below. Subscribe if you would like. Let's talk about some Seattle Mariners. And I'm just going to let's go through the moves individually. Okay. So I'm just going to go down the list here. All right. Let's start with the Mariners trading for Teoscar Hernandez from the Toronto Blue Jays. The Mariners acquired Hernandez in a trade with the Blue Jays. They sent Eric Swanson and pitching prospect Adam Macko, who I will say we all saw at the Dust Devils game when we attended this summer. So just focusing on this trade right here, Kevin, what do you think?
It has some very good parts to it and also some kind of, I don't want to say sketchy, but just areas of concern, so to speak. You needed to address your outfield after this offseason because you knew Winker wasn't pretty much going to come back. And then with Haniger being a free agent, all you had is Julio in the center. So you kind of had to address outfield and also just big boy at bats, pretty much. Like you needed an all-star bat, kind of. And Teoscar provides that. He provides a big boy bat, solid home runs, good contact. Sean will go into the WRC plus here in a little bit. What we gave up for him, Swanson, yes, he had a very good year, but as we've mentioned on this podcast several times before, bullpens are very finicky every year in, year out. Doesn't mean that he won't be bad next year. But it's hard to repeat year in and year out, especially with injuries and stuff like that. So best of luck to Swanson. Macko, it's hard to see him go, but we have so much prospect pitching right now that you need to trade that to go get pieces that you need to fill the gaps in order to make this roster competitive, and that's what they did. Of course, I hate to see him go, and I think he'll be a solid, I don't think he's going to be an ace for him, but I think he could be a solid 3-4 guy for him. High ceiling being their second. And that's if he goes like super crazy. But I think he eventually could turn into their third or fourth guy. Like, depending on who they have, they go and get out, for everybody else. But all in all, I thought it was the only scary parts are, one, Teoscar was hurt for a good part of last year, so hopefully that's not an issue going forward. And the fact he's in his last year of arbitration this year, so will we be able to sign him after this year? I think it's a possibility, especially with the Hispanic friendly culture with Suarez and Castillo. I mean, make
it. You forgot the guy next to him, Julio,
and Julio,
dude. The man.
I think with the electric factory and plus having fellow I want to say like Spanish speaking, but it makes it more to where not only they have people that they can talk.
You're right though. You're right though, Kevin. I think it's a deal. I think it matters. Yeah.
Because honestly, I don't know how good Teoscar's. Most of the time when I hear Teoscar mic'd up, it's in Spanish, so I don't know how well his English, how good it is. I imagine he speaks some English. But how good it is to where he could hold a basic conversation with a guy like Big Dumper, off the field, it helps develop relationship to where he has friends he can go to in the house that he can speak Spanish with, and it just makes it more comfortable and more place that he wants to be with, especially with a young core like Julio, and now that Castillo has signed for next 4 or 5 years, it gives it more more motivation to sign a long-term deal. Though he just turned 32, I think.
I don't know off the top of my head.
No, he's 29.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Or sorry, 30.
No, he just turned 30. That's it.
Yeah.
So I would like to see, I don't know if we'd go crazy like 8-year deal. I'd like to see a nice 4 or 5-year deal. I think you could offer him some good money for 4 or 5 years and then let him see what he wants to do when he's around 35, 36. But all in all, I like it. It's just there are some areas of concern that Mariners fans do need to be aware of. But it's really good for next year if he stays healthy.
Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, Kevin got it right. I will say, out of WRC Plus, what he does is he hits the ball really, really hard. Like that, like we're talking like elite of the elite. Like he's in the 1st or 98th percentile in baseball. Like he hits it harder than basically everyone not named Aaron Judge. So yes, really good. I've been as on the other podcast I had with JT, a Teoscar Hernandez denier for years. I'm like, I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's real. And this year is actually funny. We had a conversation about Teoscar Hernandez on that podcast. And I was like, fine, it's real. I admit it, Teoscar Hernandez. And then like 4 months later, the Mariners trade for Teoscar Hernandez. So I was like, okay, the year I admit he's real, like they go for him. So like Kevin said, though, Swanson, even if Swanson's good, it's a bullpen guy. You're going to get, at best case scenario, like the most elite closers pitch 60 innings. Swanson's going to pitch probably 40. An everyday hitter is worth way more than even a great bullpen guy. Yeah, Teoscar Hernandez is worth more than Edwin Diaz, just because they play every day. And so like it's just he's worth more than that. And as far we liked Adam Macko, he had some injury bug later in the year and his numbers kind of fell off. It's probably due to young, getting his feet in the door, pros, getting established. But I have a lot of mumbling around what he was even this season. And this season is a Matt Brash. He probably, what they're saying, is going to move to the bullpen. They think he's going to be a major league bullpen guy, not even a starter. So I think the Jays are doing this to fast track him, possibly to maybe have him up this year or early next year and just get 2 bullpen pieces out of it because they don't have a bullpen. And I think they thought out of the Mariners organization, this was like the fastest bullpen guy they could get. That has years of control. And so that's what they need. Lost my train of thought, but I think this is definitely, like Kevin said, it's we gave up a lot of years of control for one. In this season, it's a massive upgrade. I hope he signs. I'm not sure he does. I think he tests the market, but you get him in here for this year and hopefully try to convince him to stay at a reasonable price and say, hey, we got something here. Because his hard hit numbers and everything play in T-Mobile, it's not one of those where you have to worry, kind of like a Jesse Winker, where you're like, I don't know if like the dead ball and all this stuff. It's like an Aaron Judge. Like he hits it so hard, it doesn't matter what stadium you play in. He gets a hold of it, it's going to go out of any stadium. So, and that's why, Kevin, I think I agree. I don't disagree with signing him because I don't see that profile aging poorly because of it's not built on speed. It's not built on gap power. It's built on just hitting the crap out of the ball. Kind of like a Suarez, and Teoscar's even lowered his strikeout numbers the last couple of years. So that's even better and with this team and controlling his zone, I think that'll only improve. So I think what we gave up, that's what my point was. Kevin was perfectly right. This team and this organization makes pitchers. You get pitchers. You have tons of pitchers up and down this org, all this stuff. And what you do with those are crazy, crazy valuable. We gave up a bullpen guy who's been good for 1 year. His ERA the year before was over 4.5, and a guy who's at high A. We got a guy who's an all-star for that. So it's like everyone wants pitching, and you build up the pitching to trade the pitching, and that's what we're trading it for major league talent. And I would have loved it if he had 5 or 4 years left on his deal, but he doesn't. But I'm okay with essentially what they did. They're like, look, let's try to sign him and trade it from a strength of our farm and get a guy in a position we need. And so it makes total sense.
All right, I'm going to combine these next two because they're a little bit smaller. But Sean, feel free to begin gloating. I'm sure maybe Dipoto tuned in and was like, man, we should trade Kyle Lewis. So they traded Kyle Lewis to the Arizona Diamondbacks for outfielder catcher Cooper Hummel. And then another deal on November 30th, the Mariners signed reliever Trevor Gott to a 1-year contract last season with Milwaukee. So, Sean, thoughts on your not best friend Kyle Lewis leaving and then Gott coming in?
I always wanted Kyle Lewis to do well. I didn't want him to not do well, but you could see in the numbers that year that it was not sustainable. So, but it's sad. I hope it's just. I mean, a lot of it was just like we don't know still to this day who Kyle Lewis is. So I'm hoping Kyle Lewis just can get healthy and playing time in Arizona. As for who we got, is this guy that actually was an unintentional pun for a different player, but Hummel is he gets on base. He is the money ball, but does he get on base guy? That's what he does. He hits the ball hard, controls the zone. He doesn't have a great, line other, doesn't have a great batting average, doesn't have other things, but he just gets on base. He walks a lot. And with that and him playing catcher, what I see here is him being a AAA catcher, getting some work there at AAA, figuring all that stuff out. Because Tom Murphy's back. So they're going to have Tom Murphy and Cal, roll there. And catchers that we've seen get hurt a lot. It's a tough position. And so they're going to get him some run at catcher, see if he could figure it out. Just kind of like there's something there. Let's take a gamble. Let's take a chance. And I don't know a ton about Trevor from what I have heard from people that I trust. He's kind of a stuff guy, but hasn't worked out for various other reasons. And the Mariners are hoping that they're the people who can just turn that stuff into something, kind of like a Munoz or who was one that failed. We traded. I'll think of it later, but I really liked him. Ramirez, bullpen guy. But yeah, you got kind of like those. So kind of a okay guy to take a gamble on, because it's a low cost, doesn't cost you really much of anything, and you can get a Swanson out of it essentially. So,
Kevin, thoughts on those deals?
Yeah, he's Kyle Lewis, like I said, there wasn't really, I mean, technically there was now, because as we're going to get into it here in a little bit, we still technically have a piece open in the outfield.
But he doesn't play outfield anymore.
Kyle Lewis?
Yeah, he plays like 2 days a week in the outfield, Kevin. He's like a DH now. He can't really, those knees, they just don't. Yeah, that's unfortunately. No, they like Mariners were very careful with his knees, and I'm like, it's just.
You just pay $2 million to put robo legs on him, and you're good. No.
Let's do it. But yeah,
I mean, we got a guy that potentially could turn into something later on. Down the line, since the left or right, left, depends on where they put. I imagine they're going to put Teoscar in left.
It depends on who fills the other spot too. Yeah,
exactly.
Like if they get a guy who's a really good defender, then you stick them in right, kind of thing.
So we'll kind of see there, but we have a corner outfield position kind of open at the moment, and that could potentially be filled later down the line. I'd hope they fill it sooner with something better, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But and as far as Gott, I looked at his numbers over the past years, just as not as like super advanced as like WRC plus, but ERA, K to walk, strike K per inning, whip and stuff like that. And it's not the greatest thing. Though the what Sean has mentioned about him having the stuff part sounds familiar. It sounds like he probably has like 2 pitches that you don't really see in a bullpen guy that are really good when he's on. Like when he's got that, it's filthy and it's hard to touch it. But then it's kind of like what Clase was like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like super really good fastball and a sweet sinker. But the thing is, he had so much trouble controlling it to where like his ERA was like 4.63, and there was just days where like he could not get that thing in the box, and then like batters were like, well, I'm gonna make you throw me a strike because you're just not doing anything. And then last year he got it together, it was just a nightmare. Like nobody wanted to see Clase at all. So I'm hoping he's like one of those guys. I don't know what his pitch arsenal is. I'll have to look into that. But his numbers are not the greatest as far as like K to walk, ERA, whip and stuff like that. So hopefully the Mariners can turn him around. I mean, we've done that pretty consistently for like bullpen people, over the past like 6 to 7 years. It's kind of the thing we do.
We pump out
Like-
arms. That's what we do.
We just find dudes and we're like, we're going to clean you up and you're going to be in our bullpen. And like most of our bullpen guys have been pretty solid over the, like even back when Cano and Cruz were here, like our bullpens were pretty solid for the most part. There was one year where our bullpen was like super crazy good, like what it was last year. So I have a feeling we could. Now, is he going to be like your 8th, 9th inning guy? No. But I think we could turn him into a guy that, could you see his numbers more down like around a 3.5. If he can get to a 3.5 ERA, and a good WRC plus, I'll be happy. And strike, K to walk ratio too. I don't want him walking a whole bunch of these, but overall, I mean, you didn't really give, you didn't give a whole lot of money to him, so I'm okay with it. So.
And then the last move, or most recent move, from the Mariners was acquiring second baseman Colton Wong from the Brewers in exchange for outfielder Jesse Winker and infielder Abraham Toro. This was on Friday. The Mariners will also get around $1.75 million in cash from Milwaukee. Sources familiar with the deal told ESPN this is according to ESPN's Jeff Passan. So, Kevin, what did you think of this deal?
This was very interesting. And also shortly before that, they kind of announced, I don't know, I can't remember if it was before or after, that pretty much the Mariners ownership is not going to go, they're done spending money to acquire people like free agents. So
massive money. I think.
Yeah, like big buku bucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of deflating, I guess is the best term. As a Mariner, because there's I mean, especially real quick, the Astros signed Abreu for a pretty good term. And Abreu is a very good first baseman.
He is getting pretty old though. His numbers are falling.
His injuries. That's the thing. He's older and he's injury prone. So, but if he's healthy, that dude can hit bombs. He's a good at bat and he's a solid at first base.
He regardless of what happens, he's an upgrade over what they have.
Yeah, I mean they traded because their first place was terrible to get Trey Mancini plus Gurriel for a little bit. Even Trey Mancini's just kind of not there anymore.
Trey was just bad with Houston.
Yeah. So, and then where you have that, and then you have like Texas spending crazy dollars to get, I don't know what the fuck, but I mean it could pan as something probably, and then you still have the Trout, Ohtani thing. Like you need to make that jump, and seeing that just was very deflating. And then they make a trade like this. We have kind of previously mentioned on this podcast, we really wanted one of the top end shortstops and move JP over to second. And it seems like for some reason I think this team's like friendship or whatever the heck it is, their loyalty to JP is going to do them in really hard. Because JP has just not produced at the plate at all over the last 2 years. It's been atrocious to watch. He's 9th in the lineup for a reason. He's got a little bit speed when he gets on base, but and Sean will get into the WRC plus here in a little bit, but I would love to see Trey Turner, Correa, Swanson, any of these guys at shortstop over him, but he's an upgrade over Frazier. I will say that. And from his batting stats, it's definitely an upgrade. It gives you, more on base percent, he gets on base way more than what Frazier did. I mean, let's be frankly honest. Frazier last year was just a train wreck. It was an absolute train wreck. So this is an upgrade. At that position at second base. What we gave up for it, Winker, we knew wasn't going to play, so we traded him to get something, which is good. Toro was a good utility piece. I think Haggerty could turn into a better utility piece just because of his speed. But I mean, you can find those guys anywhere pretty much, so that's not hard to find a bench utility guy. There's a lot of them out there. Even Dylan Moore is serviceable as a. I mean, I thought Toro was a little bit better, but it's just kind of it's preference at that point. So all in all, am I okay with the trade? Yes, because you did upgrade your second baseman. At least at the plate. Fielding that I'm not sure of. Like, I think Sean's got the numbers on that. He'll go into that here in a little bit, but at the plate wise, he was way better than what Frazier was last year. Let's put it at that. So he'll add, betterness to the lineup, but I would have rather seen the Mariners spend some money for the love of God. Like, I don't see how hard it is to, like, you want to win championships and that's going to get you more money. So it's like, why not spend to get more money? Like, it just doesn't make, like, Mariners ownership is just super cheap and it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
I'll pass it to Sean.
Sean, what do you think?
Well, Kevin said the comment, you want to win championships. My question is, does Mariners ownership want to win championships? Because a lot of these people are just in it for money.
But you win more money. That's the
what I will say about Wong is when the Mariners tried to sign him 3 years ago, and ownership said no. That's for Matthew. Jerry Dipoto said, I want to sign you, and Mariners ownership said no. That is in a Ryan Divish article. I have the link if you want it later, Matthew. So it's ownership. It's always been ownership. If like it would have been much cheaper just to do this a couple of years ago, but we don't have to give up anything. But Kevin's right. I think from what we gave up, Toro, was kind of a project, didn't really pan out, which is fine though. You take a gamble on those type of guys. Toro didn't really hurt you. Like, it was fine. Didn't work out the way they thought he could. We could progress without Houston there. It's fine. You ship him somewhere where you get some value for him. And Jesse Winker, who I think everybody thinks will do much better, will bounce back. I think he was going to bounce back in Seattle anyways, but I think we all knew that he just wasn't going to be here regardless of what happened. So you had to trade Jesse Winker because of off-field and team stuff and that type of stuff. So selling low on Winker sucks, but again, everyone knew you had to get rid of him. You were going to get rid of him. You got Colton Wong for him, which, like Kevin said, is a massive upgrade over Adam Frazier. I will say, I don't expect kind of the offense that he put up last year. He is the guy that will probably regress a little bit coming to T-Mobile, unlike Teoscar, but I don't think he won't regress to like Adam Frazier levels. Knock on wood. That's going to be like played forever if he does, but like, just randomly. But he's a guy who will hit and can hit. He suffered last year through bad defense. We have Perry Hill in field defense. I mean, like, if he can make Ty France a good first baseman, that dude. Colton Wong has won multiple defensive awards, and just kind of his last 2 years have been kind of struggling. So it's there. Like, he can play defense, and Perry Hill with that'll turn around. I don't have any doubts in that. And just honestly needs to hit just like league average. Like Kevin said, you got anything more out of that position at second base that would have made a lot of difference. Like, and so I think Colton Wong will do it. What kind of said with the same thing with before with Teoscar though, it's a 1 year deal, and it's just like, what do we like? I get what we're doing. I think Jerry is trying to do the best with it. I don't think ownership, like we just saw what Trey Turner got today. Did you guys see what Trey Turner got? Matthew, Did you see that?
11 for 300.
It sounded like Trey Turner wasn't going to sign anywhere else. It sounds like he loves the Phillies hitting coach who helped him in an offseason like 4 years ago, and that turned his career around basically. And he has loyalty to that guy. So despite teams wanting him, he was gonna be a Phillies player. It just turned out to the Phillies and them matching the deal, whatever he wanted. I mean, that's what he wanted, and it was basically like Trey Turner was like, "Phillies, I'm gonna sign here. Let's make this. Let's make this work, Phillies." And they were like, "Okay." That's basically what it sounds like the deal was. So I don't blame them for missing out on Trey Turner, because that's been reported multiple times that he loves that hitting coach and basically credits his career for him. But I think what has happened, and this signifies this, is the ownership was willing to spend some money. They get in this offseason, and then they're like, okay, this shortstop market's not going to work. Let's just get Colton Wong. And I think that's kind of like what they had to do because they won't open their purse. They won't open it. And like Kevin said, it's unfortunate to make a game harder than it has to be. You can sign guys and make it easier than it has to be. Now, don't go crazy and do tons of stupid stuff, but you can sign guys to smart deals or even a little bit silly deals and just not do a ton of them. Like the Phillies can manage a Trey Turner and a Bryce Harper. Just don't sign a ton of those deals, ton more of them, and then just like cripple your team in 3 years. But like, you could afford one guy who in maybe 7 years will start maybe not being as great as he was, but we can afford that. We can have room for that. We could sign 2 guys. I saw a tweet here. We have $50 million basically from us to like the Astros. I'm just like, we can shorten that gap a little bit. Like Kevin said, they got a guy who won an MVP a couple years ago, and we got 2 good hitters, but like we already had a double-digit gap in that team to catch them. We got to make that up, and spending is the easiest way, but it's just like, I think they're just not going to open that purse up.
Okay, so answer me this question, both of you. How much better did this team get? Like, let's say the team was at a
for this year, for like next year alone.
This coming year, yeah, they're at a plus
how many?
Yeah.
What do they end up? 90 wins, 91 wins? I can't remember
90.
exactly what 90 even. Okay.
So first of all, is this team better, and how much better is it? So Sean, I'll throw it to you first.
Well, yeah, it's not entirely fair to that 90 because Castillo will be here the whole year, so like that'll throw it off a little bit too. But from, I guess, before the trade deadline with Castillo and these guys, they're definitely a lot better. I will say they were pretty lucky though with injuries last year, so I assume some starters will get hurt. But I would say talent-wise, six wins better with luck regression probably, so I'll balance out to like 4 probably. 4-3, 94, 93 wins maybe. That also depends on what the other. I will say, I don't think this is what they're going to do. I'll say they are a 6-win better team now with Teoscar, with Wong, and with a full season at Castillo. That is not to say they will win 96 games. That will come later. That there's other reasons for that, but
yes, Kevin, what do you think?
6 wins better.
Yeah, I was going to say about 5, and I think they're going to be. If and when they make the playoffs, I think they're going to be way more competitive to where you probably won't get swept. Now, whether you win series, that's just a crapshoot, especially with injuries, home field advantage, stuff like that. But I think they have a better chance to not get swept and not have 18 innings of scorelessness. You have a better roster that's able to put more stuff on you're going to have, I think your average runs per game is going to go up. That's for sure. Your offense got better. Defensively is something yet to be seen. I think it's still the same. And as
I think they got better.
Sean brought up a good point about Perry Hill too. Like, I mean, you'll probably just solidify Colton Wong at second, and then everything else just kind of falls in place.
I hate Colton Wong. I don't have his numbers up, but he has 2 Gold Gloves already. Like, it's not like he's bad. He just had 2 bad years. Like, he is better than Adam Frazier.
The whole question mark right now is just the corner outfield spot, which could be hopefully answered by some Brian Reynolds guy, but I don't know. It's doubtful, but we'll see. Then I guess if you don't sign anybody, I guess they're just like gonna have a final run with Kelnick to see what the hell you have there, or Trammell, which is kind of scary thought, but I mean, there are other pieces out there that you can sign that are not like crazy all-star players, but as Sean mentioned, that are starters in the league. But we'll see. But as a whole, I think this offensive got better. Yes. So I would say, yeah, they're probably going to be around. They're going to have a different strength of schedule this year, of course. And then depending on injuries and stuff like that, I would assume they're going to be back near the same number.
Yeah, it's been kind of shown that basically whenever a playoff series starts, at best it's usually like a 60-40 win percentage. Like the Dodgers had like when they lost their series, they had a 60% chance to win that series, and because any teams can win 3 games in a row. The Pirates swept the Dodgers this year. They won 3 games against the Dodgers. So like it happens, and that's fine. We were in a group chat, but I just want to be the 60 team. I don't want to be the 40 team. That's kind of just what I'm looking at. When we play the Astros, can we be 45, 55, make it a little closer, not be the 40 and the 60-40 combo, because clearly while the games were close, the Astros did show they were better and they beat us. So can we just close the gap, and maybe the other series when we're playing like the Blue Jays be the 60 team and not the 40 team is just kind of like what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let us know what you thought of the Mariners' moves, how much better they are for the 2023 season. Go ahead and tweet us. I'm @Matt. Sean's @Sean_Betty. Kev is at SEA2Believe on Twitter. Like our video, subscribe. Tell us what you think of the topics we talk about. Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks.
Get Josh Bell. Sorry. That last
Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. They have had 2 games since we were last on the podcast. They had a bye week after Germany, and then they came back home. They took on the Las Vegas Raiders, lost 40-34 in overtime. Quick rundown there. Geno 27-37, 328, 2-1. Kenneth Walker 14 for 26 and 2. DK 11 for 90 and nothing. Tyler Lockett 3 for 68 and 1. Derek Carr 25 of 36, 295, 3 and 2. Josh Jacobs 33 for 229 and 2. Jacobs 6 for 74, Devontae Adams 7 for 74. Then they went to Los Angeles this past Sunday and took on the Rams. They won 27-23. Geno 28 of 39, 367, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. DJ Dallas was a leading rusher, 10 for 37. Receiving Tyler 9 for 128 and 1, DK 8 for 127 and 1. On the other side, John Walford 14 of 26, 178 and 2. Cam Akers 17 for 60 and 2. And then receiving Tutu Atwell 2 for 48. I'm going to start. So the Raiders game, I wasn't really able to watch much. I just got home, just tested positive for COVID. I was moving stuff in and out of a spare bedroom to quarantine. Now I was able to catch the end of the game. So on one hand, the Seahawks, the defense was awful in that game. It was just absolutely awful. And that's the reason why they lost the game. You scored 34 points, you should absolutely lose the game. But overall, they played well enough to win the game. They just couldn't get it done in overtime. And as a fantasy manager, I needed Josh Jacobs to do well to get in the playoffs, and boy did he. So it's kind of the fantasy dichotomy of I wanted the Seahawks to win, but Josh Jacobs scoring on an 80-yard touchdown run to win the game significantly helped me get into the playoffs. So it sucked to watch Seahawks lose, but it was great for me to get in the fantasy playoffs this week. So that's great. So I didn't really get to watch much other than the end of the game. So I don't really have much to say about the Raiders game, but the Rams game, I watched all of it. I saw a lot of the Twitter comments like we should win this game. They're playing without all their players, and yeah, I understand that. I also understand the other team is paid to play, and Sean McVay has had the Seahawks number pretty much his entire career in Los Angeles with the Rams. So I do like the win for a few reasons. One, Geno came back. We have not seen that yet. They were down 23-20. He led them on a game-winning touchdown drive, and that is the biggest question for Geno this year was, could he come in clutch at the end of a game? Can he lead a game-winning touchdown drive? I don't care who's on the other side of the ball. I don't care that Aaron Donald's out. I don't care who's on the other side of the ball. They're paid to stop you, and they didn't stop you. So that was great to see from Geno. Also, the utilization of the tight ends has been pretty solid. Noah Fant's getting involved. Kobe Parkinson's getting involved. Will Dissly's getting involved. They're creating plays to get them into open space and get them the ball, and that's great. And also DK and Tyler. First of all, I have DK in fantasy, so love to see that anyway. But just to see that, first of all, I feel like Geno and Tyler have a very, very solid connection. Not Russ and Tyler level, I don't think, but they have a very solid connection as a wide receiver quarterback combo, and so does DK and Geno. So those guys, those three seem to be all in connection with each other, and you can see it in their post-game press conferences. So it's really great to see those three guys, the core pieces of your offense, really getting along, really connecting and finding each other on the field. The biggest thing about this game against the Rams was Kenneth Walker going down. It's we don't know the extent of his injury. I believe it was an ankle. I forget what the term Pete used was, but I don't. You guys are more medically knowledgeable than I am, but I don't know what he diagnosed it as, like a strained ankle or something. Like his ankle hurts. So that's going to be a problem. Tony Jones Jr. was in there and got some work. DJ Dallas got a majority of it, but he was kind of hurt for most of that game, it seemed like. So he was just kind of gritting it out. So we'll see what they do at running back, because Homer's hurt, Penny's out. So if Walker can't go, if DJ can't go, not really sure where they're going to turn to. They're going to turn to Tony Jones, obviously, because he got in there and got some work, but you're going to need some bodies back there to take some work. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. The defense, it wasn't great. Obviously their starters were out. Cooper's not there. Matthew Stafford's not there. I think last year was an anomaly for Matthew Stafford. I personally still don't think he's that great. He got a Super Bowl, cool. But overall, I still don't think he's a good quarterback. And Walford did what was asked of him to do, and also they just ran the ball very well against the Seahawks. That was their heel. They could not stop the run. And credit to the scheme that Sean McVay called up. He was doing a lot of counters, doing a lot of inside runs, doing a lot of different blocking schemes to get guys into open space and get them down the field. So that credit goes to Sean McVay for creating a run scheme that the Seahawks couldn't stop and getting multiple players to football. So overall, Sean likes process. I care about it, but ultimately a win's a win. Sean, what'd you think?
Ultimately, a win's a win until those don't keep happening when we play good teams. Okay. So the Raiders game, the Seahawks got punched in the mouth in basically every way. Rushing is horrible. Kenneth Walker continues to be, as I stated, the most boomer bust player a long time ago. NFL Analytics Twitter caught on, and I should be certified for that, right? I think I called that. And then
you got $8?
Yeah, oh no, I want them to certify me. I called that, I said that, and then I actually had someone tell me that I was wrong, and then literally everyone came out like, man, this guy's like the definition of boomer bust. And I was like, thank you. Like, that is what I said. Like, that's not bad. It's just that, like, I need Kenneth Walker to understand there's a good time to just get the 3 yards and not try to cut it outside and get -1 yards. Like, know when to take the 2 yards and know when to bounce it outside. That's literally, he has explosiveness to do that and shiftiness to make people miss, but know when you're not going to make a home run, because those negative rushes they're just too negative. Like, you are hurting this team way more than you're helping this team. And he has been doing that. Other people, like, we know that large runs of like 30 yards plus yards are largely luck, because they rely on a mistake of the defense, and you can't continuously rely on mistakes of defense, but you can maximize what you can do. And just, that's all it needs to work on the offseason. Know when to take the 3 yards. As silly as it sounds, just know when to take the 3 yards. And it's unfortunately got hurt. But the Raiders game, just, it was not fun. It was not fun. The Raiders are terrible. They're not good. Josh Jacobs absolutely just you knew what they were gonna do, and they just ran it all over you. That is a problem. I don't think I need to get in that one. The Rams game, I know that it is there, but if you had an NFL, I want to go back to what we called that high school kid. That high school kid who threw that pass, the Wofford is what we're going to call it. There is no shame in a high school, 3A quarterback throwing that ball. When Wofford went to throw the Hail Mary at the end of the game, full windup, and threw the ball maybe 34 yards downfield, and Cody Barton picked the ball off 20 yards shy of his target wide receiver, he's not a capable NFL quarterback. If you had a guy who could, if Baker Mayfield was throwing passes for the Rams, the Seahawks lose. Like, that's how bad that game was. I'm sure Kevin will be the same way. Wofford's EPA per play was worse than the Seahawks running game. And the Seahawks running game had a legally blind man in the backfield. Did you guys hear that story?
No.
No.
Tony Jones lost his contacts, had no other contacts, is legally blind without them. He literally played the couple other games, rest of the game, with legally blind. And he was more effective than Wofford was passing. And it is so much easier in the NFL and EPA to be more effective at passing than it is running. That is how bad that team was. And they still almost beat the Seahawks. Like, I get it, and I understand. I'll take the win. Love it. It was a huge win for us. But that's why would I say, like, the process, win-loss doesn't mean anything for future games. It lies to you. Process is what will tell you how this will actually go. And the process was not good again. Like, thankfully they play the Panthers, which I don't know, the Seahawks won and the Vegas betting line reduced. They're only like a 2-point favorite now against Carolina. Like, it got worse because, like, everyone's like, they suck. And so, like, everyone else saw it. Vegas like, no, that team, no. Happy for Geno. Geno played out of his mind. Geno still, like, every time, like, he has like 2 throws a game and they're always in the end zone where it should have been picked. He threw a throwaway ball, and landed in the middle of the end zone between 3 Rams players. And I'm like, Geno, I would have, Pete Carroll's a bigger man than me, because I would have wringed his neck out on the sideline. Like, you threw a ball away in the middle of the end zone. You're so lucky that ball not picked. He threw another one that hit Taylor Rapp in both hands. Thank God he's a Husky and can't catch crap, or else that's also a pick and we scored again later. Like, that's just 10 points we didn't get if the Rams just, like, catch footballs. Like, I just, like, Geno, other than those little mistakes, though, Geno, great pocket presence, stood in the pocket and took some shots. Like, he took some monster hits and stood in there. I would also like to take a bow. I quote tweeted, I said Tyler's going to eat for this game. Yes, he did. Because people wanted DK so bad to dunk on Ramsey. And I'm so glad he did at the end. But at a certain point, could either of you name the other corner who played for the Rams? No. Exactly. So why even, like, it's what the Seahawks do with Woolen, what the other teams do with Woolen. Why even throw it at Woolen? Throw it to the other guy. Who gives a shit? Like, Tyler's going to beat whoever that is on the other side. DK, this is just going to be a game where you get 3 catches. I don't care, because Tyler's going to kill that guy on the other side of the field. I'm going to throw it to him like what was the famous game last year against the Cardinals, where the Cardinals were like, we're going to double DK. And Tyler went for, like, what was it, 3 touchdowns and like 220 yards? Just do it. If you're going to leave Tyler one-on-one, that's what I want. I saw there's advanced stats that goes catch radius and route running. And Tyler, it also incorporates Yak. So Tyler's the number 3 receiver in that category. But if you ignored Yak because Tyler just likes to dive, he's the number 1 receiver in the NFL. He is so great at route running and hands that it's insane. So if you're going to leave me one-on-one with, like, the second or third corner, Tyler's going to win that every single time. And you saw it. Like, we saw it. Every time Geno was, like, going down the field, Tyler's, like, got no one within 5 yards of him. Was that, like, crazy? Like, it just felt like no one was near Tyler the entire game. And I'm just like, that's because he's so good at route running, understanding concepts, like sitting. They had that one miscommunication where Geno thought he would go, Tyler sat. But other than that, like, they're on the same page where when they sit he gets so much space. And that's, we talked about with DK when he came in the NFL, why we fell. Route running and hands were his question marks. It shows you route running and hands are the most important things in an NFL wide receiver, and Tyler is the best at them. He's always open, and he makes his quarterback so much better. I see advanced stats that Geno leads the league in COPE and with completion percentage over expected by, like, a massive margin. You add the next 2 people, if you add the next 2 people, Tua and Hurts, they barely equal Geno. And I'll credit Michael Duggar. Is that who it is? The
Michael Sean Duggar, yeah.
Duggar. Yeah, sorry. I knew he was a high. I couldn't remember his name, but he made a great point of he goes, I think, because Russell always led the league in that every single year. It's not an end all be all stat, because if your guy's wide open, it actually hurts you because it was going to be completed anyways. So, but regardless, he made a point of Tyler Lockett he catches everything you just throw near him. And so he is the reason your COPE is so high, because Russell's for years was super high. Geno's is super high this year. Neither Russell's isn't high now, and Geno's was never high before this. It's just Tyler catches absolutely everything. And so, like, these crazy, like we saw that Rams game we talked about a couple weeks ago, where that Russell ran at the side through this, like, dime in the corner where no one's going to catch it. Tyler catches it. Tyler's like one of 2 guys who catches that in the NFL. And so he's the reason for those CPs. He helps Geno's advanced stats because he's going to catch those balls that no one else catches. And so Tyler's just been awesome. As for that game, I feel like was the DK Tyler and Geno game because the defense, I love Woolen. Woolen made a great play. Woolen, if that's a playoff game for Stafford, you gave up 6 points. People are like he's baiting him. I'm like, we saw at the end of the game, Wofford's arm is about 30 yards max. So the guy has him dead to rights, dunzo. He throws it like 10 yards downfield. That's 6 points. Guys walk on the end zone. Woolen, you got absolutely toasted. But thankfully, he didn't have an arm. The receiver had to stop and come back. And Woolen was able to close with that speed. But please don't do that again against a. I mean, you could do it next week. I mean, it's Sam Darnold or PJ Walker. PJ Walker actually has a cannon, actually. So please don't do that against PJ Walker. But Sam Darnold would probably get away with it. But PJ Walker has a missile. Are they playing? Who are they playing at quarterback? Is it PJ?
Darnold.
I think it's Darnold.
Doesn't really matter. I mean, it's a no. They're just going to run the ball a ton, which is a problem. But that's the conversation for a different day. I'll take the win. In the grand scheme of things, I kind of view this as a pretty big L. I would have liked them to put their throat on them more. And yes, it does, Matthew. They are paid to play, but when those players are, not NFL caliber players, it does matter who that is. Like, I mean, like they just had nobody run around out there. I mean, Sean McVay might as well have been the quarterback running around out there. Like it was just.
He's still recovering from that concussion a week ago. Actually,
he got popped too, and it was number 49 too, a 49er. Yeah, it was. But they just. That was part that made me nervous too. Like the Seahawks O-line seems to be getting worked over by guys who are not that good. I mean, the Rams didn't have anybody out there, and they're kind of eating Geno Smith and hitting Geno Smith. So I'll take the win already for this year. Cross and Abe Lucas have been just great. It has looked like some things have been figured out, and it's getting a little harder for them, which is fine. Again, same with Kobe Bryant. You make mistakes, you're a rookie. That's fine. You know. People are going to freak out if in a playoff game they get a big holding call against Abe Lucas and they're like, "Oh, this is stupid." I'm like, that's fine. Like this year was supposed to be a rebuilding year anyways. Like let the kids play, let them make mistakes. It's fine. Like week 1, Cody Bryant made a huge mistake and Russell Wilson then threw a touchdown over him. That's fine. Make those mistakes now. So in year 2, you're not making the same mistake. So I don't care really what happens in the playoffs if one of them is responsible for something or Woolen tries to bait somebody and gets beat over the top. It doesn't matter. Like learn it now, get your reps now. Take the win. Glad there was a tie in that NFC West game, but coming up, well, I guess we didn't talk about it. Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, so I guess the 49er game looks a little easier. But coming into San Francisco Jets and who have a defense and Kansas City, you need this win, and so it's big that you got this win ahead of that schedule, that stretch there. So,
Bobby Wagner revenge game, full force, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 1 pick, which was not a pick. Let's just be clear. He was down with his knee and he had the ball, but neither here nor there. Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, this team's got issues. And I tweeted it after the Raiders game, like. At what point do we hold Pete Carroll reliable? Like this defense has been atrocious for the last 6 years, and he's a defensive-minded coach, but yet he gets like nobody slaps. It's the whole like him, the animosity toward Russell because Russell never got his hand slapped for when mistakes were made. Like now, like nobody's slapping Pete's hand over the last 6 years for having an absolute dog shit defense. Pardon my language. The Raiders game was just hard to watch. They are an absolute trash garbage team. I don't care if they beat the Chargers are half dead too, so you should beat the Chargers.
It's the Chargers. They look great one week and then don't know what they're doing the next week. It's just the Chargers.
Like
they want to kill their coach. Speaking of somebody, I'll tell you what.
Yeah. It was embarrassing watching Al Woods getting stiff-armed by a 220-pound running back. Like Al Woods. Dear Lord, like he on his head and then pushed him to his tummy. Like Al Woods, you're over 350 pounds. That should not happen to you. Like our front 4 is just absolute atrociousness. Like, and people thought it got better with Bruce Irvin. It did not. Like It's still really, really bad. Actually, our front seven, to be honest. And Wosu kind of came back down to earth a little bit. He was really hot in the first 4 games, and then now he's just kind of been average.
He had 2
You saw
sacks,
him,
didn't he?
yeah, but I mean,
Sacks aren't great.
against one of the worst
but
O lines
yeah,
in the league and a backup, right? Yeah.
they had 3 backups in there. I get it.
Yeah, the whole like pay to play thing is kind of more in baseball. Like it's the whole with football, you should beat that. It's the whole like conversation about would an NFL team lose to a college team, and the answer is no, because the NFL team has more. They should win, and it's the exact same thing here. You have college kids that are essentially just on a roster, getting a shot, eventually, and then eventually in like 3-4 years, they're going to get cut and go play for AFL or CFL or, XFL, some
3
random
or 4
stuff.
years. Some of those guys won't be on the
Yeah.
team in like 4 weeks.
Let's play a game of with Cam Akers, their running back. How many yards on the season does he have? Who wants to take a guess?
Probably about 100, but he had 2 touchdowns on my fantasy team this week, so I was very happy.
Yeah, 2. You know how many touchdowns he has on the season?
2.
He has 3.
Hmm.
He has 3 on the season, and he has 334 rushing yards on the season. That rushing team, like for the Rams, is an absolute atrociousness.
Oh,
because they suck balls at
so
rushing.
bad.
They're so
Yeah.
bad, but they made us look awful. That's for Seahawks fans that are watching right now. That's how bad this defense is. They have one of the worst O lines in the league. They have one of the worst rushing games in the league, and they ran all over us. Pete should not have a job at this point, like at all. Like the whole Geno thing, that's, as Sean kind of mentioned, it's kind of because of his receivers. We do have, a better.
Geno is doing
It's a
his
mix.
thing. Yeah,
It's a mix thing. It is.
Yeah.
Some
No,
of it is
Geno
Geno.
has
Some
been
of it
good.
is Geno. Some of it is Shane Waldron too. Schemes and having weapons around him, and having a pass protecting O-line to where he can stay in the pocket. So some of it is Geno. I'm not trying to take any.
I think Geno's played very well personally. I think
Not all of it is Geno.
I would say most. I'd say it's a combo. You need it too, but Geno's played very well. Geno's played very well.
80-20 Geno.
I would like to see Geno without Tyler and Metcalf though. I want to see that.
Oh, he'd be worse. I mean,
Yeah,
those 2 receivers are really good.
Well, we see Russ without him, and we see what's happening now. So.
Exactly.
Well, Russ is playing. Well, Russ is playing with the
plus with the combination of what Shane Waldron is doing on offense. It's not Pete related. Let's put it like that. Pete is not making Geno or what that offense do anything. It's Shane Waldron, Geno, and the players. It's not Pete. So why does Pete have a job? That's the whole, like, he's there to be a defensive minded coach in the hoo-ha, roo-rah, let's play with Pete type of deal. But then you have pretty much the worst defense of the league, probably, at least top, bottom 3 defensive in the league when he's a defensive minded coach. And it hasn't changed over the last 5 years. So seeing that against the Raiders team was just deflating. Like, I don't know what else you can do other than fire his butt, John and the rest of the people are the ones who are doing the draft. This is not Pete like finding miracles out of nowhere. It's John and his scouts. So it's honestly, I want to pull an Office Space and say, Pete, what would you say you do here? Other than being the hoo-ha, fun, energetic 70-year-old grandpa who's like, you did good, son. Good stuff. Slap on the butt. Like, what does he do? Give me 3 positive things, each of you, that he does. What does he do?
Well, he's got a Super Bowl.
That means nothing.
2 NFC championships.
No, what does he do?
Right now?
I mean, he's the head coach of a 7-5 team.
But is it because of him?
I mean, this is the dichotomy I have with you guys. It's like there's no credit to give, but there's all the blame.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree with what Kevin's saying. Pete put those people in that position. He hired Shane Waldron. He kept Geno. Sorry, I was trying to multitask here.
That's okay. But so he knows people that know what they're doing.
That's like half the battle.
Which is good, but at the same time too, when he contributed to nothing else, like you could literally just keep everything you have in place there and put a different head coach in and do better. Like,
But if the head coach isn't doing anything, then nothing would change.
but like at the same time too, like when I was watching the condensed version of the Rams play, we had like a play where I saw it was vintage Pete. He went back to what he was. We had like a penalty where it was like 2nd and 20, and then he did a draw play, and it was toward the end of the third quarter. Or at the second half or the first half. There's like 40 seconds left. We had a penalty, and he's just like, well, even though there's like 35 seconds, and we could probably, throw the ball, which we've been doing, this whole time, and get into like field goal range and look for a field goal. I'm just going to run it twice and then be conservative with the ball, and then we'll get the ball in the second half. Even though we could add 3 more points here.
I appreciate what Pete has been doing. He has let Geno cook in a way that he should have been doing for Russell for the last 8 years. But yes, I mean, he learned
to that point.
He did. He's done a great job at doing it.
But he is there not only for that, but for his philosophy and for being a defensive minded coach. Andy Reid is in Kansas City because what he can do with an offense and what he can do with a quarterback, not what he does for like if the defense sucks like what it has over the last years, that's not really on. Yeah, but that's not really on Andy Reid. Yes, he does need to help. Him and the GM need to help, find it better.
He's a dying breed. There's not going to be very many defensive head coaches anymore in the football in the next couple of years. Like, it's just not going to work that way.
Well, it's just, no, he doesn't adapt. He's adapted in offense, but he hasn't adapted in defense.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, all of them are going to be offensive guys. Like, that's just how it's going to go, because that's what drives.
Plays mainly cover 2, cover 3 with zone read options that just don't work when he doesn't have the players to do that. Like, it's so weird and frustrating. Like, you need to now and I would really want to be in the room to know how much influence he had on defensive draft picks over the past few years.
I think he has done a decent job with what he has. He deserves the blame for the state the roster was in. He lit that thing on fire. But I think he has done a pretty good job this year as adapting to how football is played before the year.
Because he literally just stepped away. That's literally what he did.
Yeah, he let Shane Waldron do his thing and said, "Do this, please." That's a lot of it. Like,
that's a weird thing. So let's say in a scenario we all like work in a kitchen. And I suck balls at cooking food, okay? You guys are really good at cooking food and stuff like that, but I'm messing up orders and stuff like that. And then I just decide one day to be like, I'm just going to sit back and let you guys do your thing.
Yeah.
But I'm still getting a paycheck. Why is that?
If you're the manager, limit the thing you're lighting on fire and let the people you put in process.
But at the same time, too, you could put in a manager who can do that exact same thing, but also be better at cooking.
It's kind of what I wanted when I said in the offseason was like, just stop doing anything, Pete, and just be the vibes guy. And that's what he's doing. Just be the vibes guy.
But I'm saying, it's a good thing, but you could upgrade.
And you could.
That's what I'm saying. Why are we paying him so much money?
It doesn't matter. It's not against the cap. I don't care what you pay him. It's not. It doesn't affect the team on the field.
Why do you have him until 2025?
He'll just retire in 3 years. He's just gonna retire in 3 years. Honestly, what I do right now is I'd be like, Shane Waldron, I want to sign you to a deal, and you are the coach when Pete's done.
But that's
what I want.
Cool. But our defense is still 31st in the league. Do we win Super Bowls?
Not 31st, like 23rd.
Oh, no.
Yeah, advanced metrics.
Last year, maybe 24th at the end of the year.
No, we were, according to, we played shit. Look, our opponents have been just horrible. We were up to like 16th at one point, and so before the Raider game, because we played like nobody.
Yeah, exactly. We're playing,
but we're like 22nd now. I think I don't have the current numbers up.
But we know that we're worse than that, though.
There's a lot.
Our front seven is terrible.
Oh yeah, they are.
Our secondary is the only decent thing there, and they're too dependent on turnovers. Like,
yeah,
you don't get a turnover, this defense just gets its crap pushed in. Let's be honest. It's so much based off of turnovers. And when you go against better teams, that's not going to pan out in your favor.
We could talk about it. I think the season is largely, people want to talk about, the Pete season. And this is the Geno Smith season. If Geno Smith is bad this season's a dumpster fire.
Yeah, exactly.
it's just
And
what it is.
then people are talking about Pete's head when
Yeah,
like they should
he would be in
still
a
be
lot of
talking about
trouble
Pete's
if
head.
Geno Smith was bad. People would be in a lot of trouble.
Like Pete's success towards Geno is just him literally stepping away. That's not actually him putting anything toward it. It's just him taking his hand out of the cookie jar. Like that's not a whole lot. He's not putting much. He's just putting less effort of just not doing anything. So his head should still be on the chopping block, especially after a Rams team that's literally half depleted. You beat by 4 freaking points.
I mean, when you're at this point where he's going to retire soon, anyways, just let him step back.
I don't think he is. I think he's going to stay till 2025.
Yeah, he is. That's what, 2 more years? I mean,
yeah, end of 20. So that's 3 more seasons of this after this season. 3 more seasons after this season of crappy defense. 3 more seasons of no Super Bowl. Is that worth it?
Oh, we're not winning the Super Bowl anyways. Like that's not a realistic.
But I'm saying no. But I mean, with the progressions that Geno has made, you could add and make a better defense to where you are in a better position.
Add what? Geno's a free agent next year.
I mean, you could sign him to like a 2-3 year deal.
Can you?
Can. Yeah,
you have the money.
Maybe.
You got the money.
He's a free agent. He gets a pick what he does.
Let's be honest about the drafts over this past couple of years with quarterbacks too, because everybody's like, "Oh, we need a top pick for a quarterback." Look at the top picks of the quarterbacks and stuff like that. Have they panned out? Has Wilson?
I know. It happens, but I mean,
it's not always in the top.
Mahomes pans out.
I know. That's you have Lamar Jackson and Mahomes. Deshaun kind of panned out, but
Deshaun Watson actually. I don't want to get into the whole thing. He's been a fantastic quarterback when he plays and is not being a shitty person. But
except for last week, but
it's his first game in 2 years.
Played 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, he's literally not been able to practice for 2 years. Like he's not been allowed to practice.
But like it's not always in the top 3. Like look at everybody who's been drafted in the top 3 though. Like
yeah, I mean
it's just been nobody, like literally.
But like who's been good that's been drafted later the last couple of years?
Carr has been okay, though. Carr's been way.
That was so long ago. Like
that was long ago.
Yeah, you can't count Carr, who's been good. That's like 3 years in the season, 3 years in. That's like drafted later.
I'd have to.
The problem is the nerds are taking over, and the
Cousins. Jalen
Hurts.
Poor Cousins was like.
Hurts was a 2nd rounder.
Hurts.
Tom Brady.
Dak.
No. We're talking
Dak was a 4th round.
Last 3 years, like. You're not going back to before 2000, like last 3 years when the analytics are a thing now. Like, what are we looking at here?
Well, it's hard with it. So sometimes you just have bad draft.
I just think the quarterbacks just have not worked out. I mean, some of these quarterbacks are making progress. Trevor Lawrence looks better when he doesn't have fucking Urban Meyer as is just lighting the roster on fire. Like he looks a lot better. He had a monster game for the Jaguars. It was the best quarterback game for the Jaguars by some yards and touchdowns and passer rating in 18 not 18 but 10 years. He just had that 2 weeks ago. There's guys are
I trust John to know where he's at. I mean, if John is literally trying to get Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, when we had Russell and
but my thought with that is though, it's always everyone wanted Russell when coming out of the draft. Did he come out after me? He's really wanted everybody, but also wanted those 2 guys. At a certain point, he doesn't get credit for wanting those guys. You get credit for pulling the trigger. It's just the problem is
but he knew he was in the
drafting.
You could be in a position to get him.
Drafting in the first round, the first half of the first round is where those guys are. And
I mean, Kevin, I'm with you. I'm not particularly sold on this quarterback class myself. So
it's not that, but that's where you're gonna have to. That's what I'm saying. You're gonna have to go into the first half of the first round to get a guy. And if Geno's the guy and it's gonna push you down, kind of like the Russell Wilson thing. If you're too good with this quarterback, you're gonna have to trade up to get the next quarterback then.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. So now you have
you're rolling the dice on Malik Willis's and Desmond Ritter's then at that point.
But
if they aren't good, we see what this team looks like without a top 5 guy. You are now 3-14.
But at the same time, too, you also have to put something on that atrociously hot garbage defense.
I get it, but we understand that a quarterback is exponentially more valuable than an entire D-line. one D-line guy's not going to fix that D-line. If let's just say they don't sign Geno. I mean, like Baker Mayfield, you're going to roll out there. Like, what are we doing? Like you're going to win 4 games of Baker Mayfield throwing around back out there, even if you draft 2 monster guys. Like, it's just not. That's not how you.
I don't see them not signing Geno though. Like,
I mean, I don't know.
You could franchise tag him
especially with the
and
brotherly love that he's got right now with Tyler and DK. Like,
he's gonna want.
Yeah, brotherly love's great, but money talks.
He's gonna get paid, and you could franchise him next year for like 32 million. If you franchise him.
Now, Kevin, I'm with you. I think he would like to come back for the right price.
He would.
I don't know what that is. So.
I say worst case scenario is you franchise him and draft a quarterback with your first thing. You then like if Geno doesn't want to say, or you could worst case scenario franchise him 3 years in a row, but then you're getting like 42 million average at that point if you franchise him 3 years in a row.
I'm in agreement that if John knows what he wants out of a quarterback in this draft, go get him with what you got.
All right. Well,
you're never not going to be in that position again. This is the year to make.
To wrap it up, it was a hot, atrocious mess. Seahawks are poopy. They might actually lose going forward.
This is Geno Smith season, basically what we're saying.
Yeah, it's more or less on whether Geno can save this team or not, and that's kind of scary.
I mean, go Geno. Let's go Geno.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to watch. So
yeah. So let's preview next week. Carolina's coming to Seattle 125 on Fox. We'll just do some quick predictions. Just stop the run. Make Sam beat you, because he can't.
Can you stop the run?
That's going to be the question. Can you stop Dante? Can you stop
if you
Chuba?
knew you went against Warford, you knew they were going to run the ball, and you still couldn't stop it.
Yeah. So stop Chuba, stop Dante, maybe cover DJ Moore if he goes down the field, but other than that, you should be all right. So
I want you to put 12 men in the box. Cheat. Put 12 in the box and like
have Daryl Taylor run back out there again on a random
do
play.
A Daryl Taylor move and run out there and just do anything. Get in the way.
I do think Carolina runs a lot and very well. I don't think the Seahawks will do well against the run, but I do think they will win the game. I think it's 30-20 Seattle. Kevin?
Yeah, it's gonna be another close game. I think they should be able to pull it out just because I don't trust Carolina's defense. They have a good front four. I don't think you're going to be able to run the ball that well. So then it's just kind of the play game. And then you just try to throw in a jet sweep or some tricky crap with whoever you got. Is Homer Homer was a healthy scratch for this game, wasn't he?
No, Homer was injured.
He was injured. Okay.
Yes.
So it's now looking like Walker and this other.
Well, you don't draft running backs in the second. Well, you don't
Tony
draft running backs.
Jones.
So you don't draft running
they
backs.
said Walker is a possibility for Sunday.
He is a possibility.
Yes.
Don't draft running backs.
To further comment, because he was wondering, it was a sprained ankle.
That means he hurt his ankle. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you want to do, with that.
The grade of it, I don't know. Yeah, it says he has a strained.
There's
in a small area of the ankle found on the MRI. It says Walker may be able to play Sunday. The team doesn't know yet.
So a 1 probably. It's just really twisted, basically. I don't know. What did DJ Dallas? Yeah, what happened with him? What was his update?
It was another ankle. As far as I remember seeing, let me look and see real quick. DJ Dallas. Oh wow, nothing. Nobody's got anything. Really?
I didn't see. That's what I said. I didn't see anything online today. I just saw.
I mean, I know he was hurt during the game, but
yeah,
suffered an ankle injury of his own late in the first half. He played through it, so
yeah, I saw no DJ Dallas update. I was like,
he described it as somewhat of a high ankle issue for Dallas and said they're awaiting MRI results.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah.
It's quite. Hold on. Yeah.
It's probably going to be the same thing, like a strain. That's what we're going to call it. Yeah.
So and then Travis Homer has a knee issue. Okay.
Yeah, he's bad enough to scratch. So I'm just, and they I can't remember the core guy's name. TJ
Tony Jones
Tony Jones. Yeah.
Jr.
Anywho, I will say.
Please don't call yourself TJ. I've been hard enough like with DKs and all and DJs on this team. Like yeah, TJ and please don't. Tony Jr.
I'll say 32-26.
Sean,
What was the Rams score?
27-23.
23.
I'll say the same thing. Seahawks win by 4. I see it going the exact same way. Yeah, Seahawks win. But if you play the same as you did this game, Seahawks, you will lose that game to the Panthers. Sam Darnold, as bad as he is more capable than Wofford. So, or why don't they just
PJ Walker?
Why don't they just play PJ Walker? Like honestly, you know who Sam Darnold is at this point. You've already cut Baker. Just play PJ.
Las Vegas at the LA Rams. I'm taking the Raiders.
I mean, yeah. the Rams they're literally the Lambs right now. They aren't the Rams anymore.
Tampa Bay at San Francisco. I am taking the Niners in that one.
This is going to be close for me.
I don't think it matters who plays quarterback for the 49ers. They're better than the Bucks. Doesn't matter.
I
at a certain point
agree
it
with
does.
Matt, actually.
I mean, at a certain point it does.
Yeah.
Not right now. No, it does not.
Is Purdy going to do this?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to run the ball. Let's be frank.
Yeah,
Actually,
absolutely.
I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing. Tampa Bay is very good at one thing on defense, and that is run stopping.
What has kept the 49ers alive for years is they run it too much and they get in third downs. And Jimmy is, other than Patrick Mahomes, who is like an alien, is great at converting third downs, third and fourth downs. He's a superhuman at it. That's what's kept his EPA up so high. He's just amazing. Can Purdy convert all those third downs? I don't think he can. I don't think he can.
I think it's pretty close.
He's the guy whose famous gif is turning the wrong way 2 weeks ago on a handoff and then running into the line. He almost
I'm gonna say
I'm
gonna say 17-14.
Yeah, that team is very talented around him. But that defense is really good. If I'm Tampa Bay, I line everybody up within 5 yards of line of scrimmage and be like, throw it deep. Do it. Because they're gonna run these little slants and these little sweeps to Debo and Ayuk. And they're gonna run the ball. And I make them throw it with Brock.
I think Purdy's going to beat him.
I think the 49ers are going to beat them. I don't know if Brock is. That defense is super good for the 49ers. I think that's going to be the key. That 49ers defense, they punched 2 in the mouth over and over and over and over. I agree. I think the 49ers win, but I think it's that defense is just gonna bail out that team 14-17.
And then New England at Arizona. I'm going to take Arizona. I just don't think New England's that good. Coming off a bye, I think.
You think Arizona's that good?
No, I think they're going to get the win. I don't think New England is that good. And coming off the bye, I think Arizona's going to win.
You're like, man, I don't think the Patriots are that good. Other team, I'm like, the other team's probably fucking worse, Matthew. Like
who you got?
The Cardinals. I picked the Patriots. Like,
all right.
Yeah, I think Patriots win by 10.
This is tough. So here's the thing. Pat's defense is a lot better than what a lot of people expected it to be. The thing is, Pat's offense is a lot worse than what people expected it to be. Pat's offense.
I think people thought it was going to be poop.
Yeah, the defense I never thought.
But no, like Pat's offense has been fucking terrible.
Yeah, they've been
yeah,
bad.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So it's just going to depend on whether that defense can hold off. And with Marquise Brown and Nuke back at full,
that team has just been a dumpster fire, Kevin, with those guys. Like, they're just.
Yeah, I know. It's that O-line's an issue. Kyler's an issue. Like
that whole team.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Patriots and Cardinals are basically the same in EPA for passing. They're the same offense, basically.
I'm going to say Arizona 20, New England 14.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let us know what
New England has basically the second best defense, way above the Cardinals, and the offense is basically the same. So, yeah.
All right. Well, let us know what you think of Carolina at Seattle, the rest of the NFC West matchups. Go ahead and tweet us. I am a _Matt. Sean is Sean Scorbady. Kev is at SEA2Believe. That's C2Believe on Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like our videos. Tell us what you think in all the comments below. We will hopefully be back next week with maybe some more Mariners. We'll talk about if the Panthers and the Seahawks went some direction, and then we'll have some more Kraken, I'm sure. So until next time, we will see you then on Washington East to West Sports. Bring back our Sonics.
Queer.